Chris, you want to go through your breadboard?
Is your fancy camera going to work?
Yeah, I just
So my name is Chris Gargolino. I am a modeler here in Fort Worth. I'm doing InScale, and I'm also a visual editor. So I do a lot of work with audio and visual. And one of the things that I set my mind to back in December when I started modeling was I did not want a static railroad. I wanted audio in there. I'm not a big fan of watching a nice Steve McQueen movie with the volume turned all the way down. You just can't get the depth of what's going on. And when I walk into somebody's railroad, it's either quiet or all you hear is locomotives. Well, I like to build electronics so that I can put in sound with sensors. So as people walk in and around my layout and as trains are doing things on the layout, they're going to hear subtly in the background things that are going on. If you walk by a creek, you're going to hear creek flowing. If you walk by the cattle yards, you're going to hear cattle in the background. So when I mentioned this to a very close friend that I've met here in Texas, Mike, I won't let anybody know it's you.
Okay.
He was like, wow, that's a great idea. Can you do a hotbox detector? And I'm like, you bet. What's a hotbox detector? I have no clue. I don't know much about the prototype side. I'm learning as I'm building here. So he explained to me what it was, and what I've got here today that I just finished last night that he asked me about 20 minutes before leaving the house this morning to bring in is a simulation of a hotbox detector. Now, one of the things that we're putting into it is we're adding speed. So I built a speed detection module for it as well. We're going to be doing axle counts, so that way we can run, the program will run, we'll say, only trigger the defect detector when it reaches 288 axles or something like that. So the people that are operating on his layout are not going to know when this is going to go off. And then as soon as it does go off, they're supposed to contact their dispatcher to find out what they're supposed to do. So in short, that's what I have here today, and I'm going to show you a demo of it.
WCRR, Equipment Defect Detector, milepost 217.3, track number 1, westbound, first defect, hotbox, at axle 112, north end, west side from head of train. Second defect, dragging equipment, near axle 147. Total axle count 186. Train length 3640. End of transmission.
Cool. So basically what's going on here, and I've got parts up here after the meeting, you guys can come up and we can talk about what I did. But what I did was I took a micro mini SD card reader and MP3 player, and then I recorded a slew, about 50 different words. And I'm using the Arduino to go through and based on random algorithms and axle counts that are happening with the speed detector, then I'm putting all the words together like you just heard so that it will actually be accurate. So it's only going to fire on for an example, 288 axles, but it's literally counting from the nose of the train to the tail of the train, and it's going to pick a car within the middle of it that needs to be removed from the situation, resolved. I have hotbox detection. I have dragging equipment detection. I have also added weight. So it'll tell you if the load of the box car or maybe a container has shifted on it in either direction. And then obviously you have a no defect to sound and a variety of other things that the system is just rattling off based on the number of cars and axles and the algorithm that we put in to trigger it. Yes, sir.
How do you figure which one it is that just an algorithm do, or did it just picks one?
So
Or you pick it?
So what currently, because this is hugely still in the process, it's only about 2 weeks old here. So I think we're at is we're going to pick a number between, say, 100 and 300, and then the system is randomizing that number. So that way, when it first hits the trigger, it's not going to be the same trigger every single time. It's also deducting the axles for the locomotive. And there's another randomizer that I put in here that is going to pick from one of the 4 different defects that it could be, plus the 5th one, which is no defect.
Do you have to do anything with the axle for it to be
Negative. So,
in a locomotive with a gearbox?
excuse me?
If you have a locomotive with a gearbox, all that an axle, or does it stop registered off?
So these infrared detectors will pick up about 2,000 hits per millisecond. So they're extremely fast. So if there's any break whatsoever in there, it will do it. Things that will be built in are going to be if the axle count is under a certain number. So let's say it's under 4. Well, there's your locomotives right there. Then it's going to skip and rerun for the next one. Once we get the prototype on a board, it'll be put out, and then we'll work the software until we get some kind of smooth work out of it.
Can you put in, like, if someone just runs short trains, 7 or 8 cars, can you say maximum number of axles?
You can. My railroad is actually a maximum of 8 cars with a maximum of 12 on 3 trains, but the average is only 4. So, and everything I'm doing is 4 axle. So for your each individual situation, you can set your specs at the top of the software and then just dump it to the Arduino and then tweak it as you see necessary.
WCRR Equipment Defect Detector. Milepost 224.7. Hotbox at axle 168. End of transmission.
The other thing is I don't think you can see it real quick. Can you guys see that on the screen? This one? Yeah. Is that any better? So this project here is the speedometer, and it will also have the axle counting in it. So when you come across, so it's going to actually calculate the speed. And in the program I wrote, I have a section for GO, OO, and N scale. So it will actually calculate the speed per the scale that you're running. Now, one other thing that Mike and I talked about that he didn't know about, a lot of us do these projects on these breadboards, and we kind of get stuck. How do I get the project off the breadboard? Well, I brought some stuff to look at. These are perk boards. You've probably seen them before, but the difference is these are actually designed as a breadboard. So each individual hole is not independent of each other. So this is an identical to the breadboard that I have up here, and you can just set it down next to it, plug it in, solder it, and you're good to go. And they make them in a variety of different sizes. You guys can look at these when we're done up here. That's all I got.
Cool. Thanks, Chris.